Welcome back for another episode of Super Trades, stock and world events discussions. Mostly the stock market. It's funny, not funny, but I've been quarantined. So when you quarantine, you gotta clean your house. I mean, I hope a lot of you are keeping your place clean. But so long story short, I go to look to see what cleaning supplies I have, and you go under the sink and look in the back, and lo and behold, I guess a couple years ago, I purchased a 2-pack of Purell. And that was just sitting there staring at me. And listen, this stuff is like gold right now. Advanced Purell Refreshing Aloe Scent. So I scored right under my kitchen sink. Now, I don't know if I'll use all this. I'll probably give it to somebody that really needs it. But perhaps the lesson is look around your house. You might have extra cleaning supplies, whatever you're lacking. And don't be sliding into my DMs asking me for my Purell, because I'm going to give it to someone that I really know that needs it. So anyways, but a lot of good news here that I want to discuss, because every time you turn on the TV, look online at articles, I mean, let's face it, the majority of it is negative, doom and gloom, leading us to think almost like this is, a hopeless situation. Now, as I always disclaim, one loss of life is too many. This is horrible, and we pray, and hopefully we help as many people we can, those that are suffering. Thank you to the first responders, nurses, doctors, emergency people. That aside, it is good to, what I like to do is look for positivity, because I believe we are going to overcome this and hopefully minimize loss of life. Now, some really good news that you almost won't see highlighted in the media, because they don't like to really discuss good news too much. But let me try and pull this up for you. I'm putting slides in here now, if I can get this to work, and I can't. So we'll do that next time. We'll do that next time. But the good news is, and you can Google this, this is all in the news. Italy and Spain, which were two of the worst hit countries, have reported drop-off in cases and deaths. Now, New York City, which is the epicenter, the hotspot, really terrible situation in the United States, had the first time where the deaths were lower than the previous day. Now, it may be too soon to discuss, to really grab onto that, but hopefully that's the trend. There's also been models that say that New York's going to peak in about 7 days, and hopefully it doesn't get that bad. And there's also been discussion even by Governor Cuomo that New York isn't using up as many hospital beds as was projected. So all positive news. And listen, if New York peaks and gets a control on it, that's going to be a beacon of hope for the entire country. And as far as stock market wise, because that's what you want to hear me talk about, that could be the turning point where the market really bottoms and starts to head back up. That's definitely going to be a big moment. And the stock market could move before then. I mean, futures are up right now, and it's Sunday night, and the market battled pretty hard against short sellers, doom and gloomers, all kinds of bad news. And listen, the obvious doesn't always happen. Everybody thinks the market's going to drop. It may again. But the obvious in the stock market rarely happens. That's a phrase. Okay? And vaccines, there are at least 7. Bill Gates said there's at least 7 vaccines. And instead of trying to figure out which one to focus on, his foundation is going to build manufacturing facilities and testing facilities for all 7. So we're testing all 7 at the same time. And listen, if we have one of those that works out of the 7, that's awesome. And that could be the key to putting this and other type of coronaviruses to death and immunity. And listen, did you know that antibody tests are really starting to be mass produced? And that's going to tell, let's say I take an antibody test and I had coronavirus and I overcame it, that's going to show, and then I should, in theory, have immunity to it, and we can know who has had it. Perhaps those people are the first tier to go back in the workplace. So there's a lot of positive news. And lastly, on the press conference from the White House, they said that 38 states have less than 50 cases per 100,000 people. So 38 states out of all of our states are in pretty good shape so far. There's other hotspots breaking out: Florida, Texas, Louisiana, and Michigan, Detroit. But obviously, we're hoping and praying that that the social distancing, quarantining, new drugs that they're trying, and all this testing is going to mitigate that. So there's a lot of good news out there. There's a lot of hope out there, and I want to make sure we still focus on the hope and the good news, and don't get swarmed by what seems to be the mainstream media's constant only reporting bad news and doom and gloom. We need to be balanced and look for facts and good news, and that's what I do every day. So, again, like I said in my last video, if you believe we are going to eventually get control of the virus in the United States, then our economy is one of the most resilient and greatest economies in the history of the entire planet, world. And it won't all come back right away. And some industries will be changed, but we will get grinding again in this economy. And remember, the type of stocks I want to look for right now to make a list for that 50, 100, 200% plus bounce as a swing trade are the companies that their business either hasn't been interrupted and the stock just got beaten down, or their business, I believe there's a good probability their business plugs right back in first day. Remember, I use McDonald's as an example for that, okay? So, if we get control of this virus, eventually eradicate it or put it into submission, the economy opens up. And then what you have is an unprecedented situation of bullishness for the stock market. Number one, the dollar is strong, and money from all over the world is so much liquidity on the sidelines that wants to be invested. Where do you want to invest as the safest place for your money, counting on an economy and companies to roar back? The United States. So we're going to get our stock market is going to get dollar flow from all over the globe. We will have a situation where interest rates are 0%. We have a historically large stimulus from the federal government, and they're talking about doing 2 or 3 more, and it may be a $2 trillion infrastructure bill. And we have the backdrop of the Federal Reserve, who I think this time, compared to 2008, is being much more responsive in a timely fashion, doing a great job. We have unprecedented trillions and trillions of dollars of liquidity and support for the economy and the financial markets. You have a power keg of bullishness for the stock market that is unlike any other time in history. Listen, in 2008, 2009, they said the same thing. It's never going to be the same. It's going to take years and years for the economy to recover, the stock market. And listen, the Fed eventually won, and our economy got back on firm footing. And I'll close to say, I was an accounting major as a CPA. I took economy. I read a lot, and you don't have to agree with me, but everyone will freak out and say, oh, the Fed's printing all this money, government's all this debt, inflation. No. They said that in 2008, 2009, when we spent trillions and trillions to get the economy back on its feet. And for, 5 to 10 years, inflation was tame. Okay? Because what you want the Fed and the government to pump liquidity in the situation right now because it's staving off deflation when prices just keep falling. And that, in my opinion, and many economists, is much more dangerous than inflation when prices keep going higher. Deflation, prices drop. That is what many historians say caused the Great Depression to last almost a decade. Okay? So, you want the Fed and the governments to stave off deflation by providing tons of liquidity, tons of support for the market. Yeah, printing money. Now, down the road, when the U.S. economy can stand on its own 2 feet and it doesn't need the training wheels anymore because we're cranking again, that's when inflation could creep back in, and there will be a challenge to unwind the balance sheet of the Fed and to control the deficits and to keep inflation in check. But that's, I don't think, going to be for a little bit of time before we don't need any help and the economy's right back. 1, 2, 3 years, I don't know. But with the support, we will have an unprecedented situation of liquidity, low interest rates, an economy that is the best in the history of the world, that has always resiliently come, listen, things in life are going to change. After 9/11 they did. After 2008, 2009, Great Recession they did. There will be things that are changing in society and in business. But here's one thing that I don't think will change. The resiliency and the intelligence of the American worker, the American economy, and as far as the stock market goes, we will have an unprecedented opportunity not seen since 2008, 2009. If you were able to pick companies that we're going to come back quicker. We have a chance to do it again. I'm making a list. I'm going to talk about that more in future videos. I am optimistic that we shall overcome. I pray that the deaths are minimized and that we will have a better day. And I will see you at my next video. Thank you.